Hello, 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 and welcome to the Maxine Phillips Life Strategy Show. I am your show host, Maxine Phillips. It's so glad to have you with us this evening. First of all, let me thank Mark, our producer, and our Pod TV network, Kim and Nick, as well as we are on Roku, Pod TV Live, Amazon Live, and we are in over 200 countries. So there's no reason for you not to be able to find us. And I'm also on YouTube. So good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome. So glad to have you with us. Now, listen, the Life Strategy Show. It's a show that unlocks secrets about living your levelless life. That's right, your levelless life. And levelless is about success without levels. There's no reason for you to feel like you must climb a ladder, a level, excel. What you need, what I want you to start thinking is about moving forward in your own God given abilities and strengths so you're always successful. Now there are 5 D's that we look at when we start talking about levelless, because we want you to adopt the levelless mindset. We want you to come on board and be a part of this movement. The first D is to discover. Discover who you are from your core. That means the abilities that you were born with, that you were given to at the breath of life, and your strengths so you know how to use them. And then define. Define what success looks like for you, not someone else, but for you. And then design. Design a blueprint, a roadmap, strategies that will help you to move forward so you can always be successful. Next, we want you to be able to develop yourself along the way. And we, as the career coaching and consulting, we help you to understand who and what type of development is needed. And then deliver. Deliver and execute with excellence. In everything you do, always have a standard of excellence by which you do it. So those are the 5 D's that relate to levelless and having that levelless mindset and succeeding without levels. Now, who do we help? We empower emerging adults. We're talking about those who are in high school, going into college, those who are college and college age, totally different age groups, right? Then we're talking about leaders. We're talking about professionals who are unemployed, underemployed, who have been overlooked for promotions. And what about those who are getting ready to retire and unsure exactly what are they going to do when they retire? So after we have done that and work with those individuals, we have found that these individuals become entrepreneurs. They go on and they become executives in their organization or start their own businesses and become the president or CEO. They can go off to military and then they know exactly what plan they're going to go into or what profession they are going to be using when they go into the military. So there are so many different avenues that you can navigate in life once you understand who you are and those abilities and strengths. So tonight we're going to be talking about, again, layoffs. But with our show, every episode is geared toward life strategies. We like to give you tools and techniques in which you can work with, you can put in your tool belt, and you can pull out at any given time in order to help you to move forward. That's what we do here at Levelless. And Levelless, we always say the sky is not the limit. So don't limit yourself. You have potential that you need to unleash. You have potentials that you need to dig deep inside of you and bring out and make an impact on the world. So that's what we do here at Levelless when we're working with individuals. We equip you to transform and have the life that you desire. Be in the profession that you love. Understand your purpose and the passion in which you bring into that purpose and walk in it. Walk in it with confidence. Walk in it and be resilient. Have that determination. Have that perseverance in order to keep stepping forward and moving forward. But you know what else? Reach back and bring another person with you. Reach back and mentor others. I know I had a mentor, several. I trust that some of you have mentors. So have a mentee as well. Give back to the world that way. You know, I said earlier that I wanted to talk about layoffs. And this is a biggie because there's so many companies that are laying off. Did you know that in 2023 that there were over, let me see if I can bring it up. Over 200,000 tech workers were laid off in 2023. And it's not stopping just because it's 2024. I mean, the trend is showing that the layoffs are continuing because guess what? Did you know that there are 32,000 workers already that's been laid off across 122 tech companies since 2024? And here we are just on what, February the 19th. So you're talking about 200,000 tech workers that were laid off in 2023. And now we're talking about, we already see 32,000 workers here in 2024. With these layoffs, now this information I've researched and it's coming from several different articles and sites like Forbes. We're talking about the layoff FYI. And the layoff FYI, they have been tracking job cuts since COVID started and since the pandemic. So just know that these numbers are continuing to escalate and or increase. But did you know that some of the major corporations are among the ones that's laying off? Like Microsoft, like Meta, like Google, Amazon, Nike. Nike just joined the companies that's laying off. And as of February the 15th, I just read an article showing that Cisco has announced to cut thousands of workers. Thousands of workers. And you know, Cisco is one of the largest makers of networking equipment. So, I mean, they are worldwide, not just here in the United States, but worldwide. Now, there's a lot of reasons that these companies are laying off. But I want to ask you, what are you doing? How are you preparing yourself? We can't be naive. We know that COVID and the pandemic has caused everything to skyrocket. We know it has affected inflation. So I want to ask you, what are you doing to prepare yourself in the event that you find yourself in this situation and that you are being laid off? I know as I was reading these articles over the last week or so, I recall when I was laid off. I've only been laid off by one company, but it stings and it hurts. And sometimes you can be caught off guard. I'm thankful that I was not caught off guard because I was within human resources and I had to do and assist with laying individuals off. But at the end, I was also laid off. So I've been on both ends, seeing an individual being laid off and also being laid off myself from the same company. And see, with my layoff, I'm thankful that they asked me to continue to help them close the office. But at the same time, I was told I was being laid off on a Monday, really, and had to go out of town to lay others off in another location. And then my husband dies in the same week. So that's a double whammy. So see, when you're being laid off, you don't know what's going to happen in your life. So that's why it's important that you prepare and that you have a game plan put in place, a strategy. And one of the things that we do here at Level is we understand by me reading all of these articles and watching the news and looking at the videos and YouTube and all the announcements that's going out, I came up with a game plan. And the game plan is to help those individuals who are being blindsided by the layoffs. So we're going to offer what is called emergency resume workshop because you don't have time to wait. It's something that needs to be done right now. And we're going to give you 20 tips and techniques in order to help you get that resume up and ready quickly so that you can start submitting it for job openings. We don't want you to be without employment. So one of the things, as I was reading, I'm just going to share with you some of the major corporations. Did you know? I'm going to use always, did you know that when I talked about Cisco, they're talking about cutting roughly 5% of their workforce as a part of their restructuring. Now, they have about 85,000 employees. Well, it was almost 85,000 employees as of last year, suggesting that the move will involve approximately 4,000 jobs. 4,000 jobs could be affected. Now, this is according to David Bahnsen, Bahnsen, as they talk about Cisco's laying off. And why are companies doing this? Well, we already know inflation is here. Everything is up, but they're tightening up. And some companies may have overhired during the pandemic. I remember back in 1999 when the year of 2000 was getting ready to roll in and the unknowns were there. And I remember them hiring because I was in HR. And then, several years later, they had to do a massive layoff because they overhired. Also you have companies who have to take into consideration their overhead, because some buildings are vacant and they still have to pay for those vacant buildings if the employees are no longer in those buildings. So they have to restructure just like we have to restructure personally with our own finances and with our own budget. It's no different than with corporations. But see, the difference here is that when you're employed by someone else and they have jurisdiction over your paycheck and your income, then you have to put a strategy in place so that you're prepared and you know how, so it can keep it from affecting you drastically, your lifestyle, your family, and your emergency funds, as they call it, the emergency funds. Some of the other corporations that when I was reading over the last the last month and a half here in 2024, we're talking about companies like UPS, Citigroup, Salesforce, major corporations. Did you know this already? Have you taken this into consideration? Are you asking yourself, what can you do differently? Do you have your resume updated? Do you know what you're going to do should you be one of the individuals or the employees who received a severance package or a notice that you're being laid off? And also keep in mind that AI is not helping us at all. AI is partially, that some of the jobs could be eliminated because of AI. So are you asking yourself, what role and responsibility are you holding right now? How is it being affected by AI? Do they need your services? And remember, several states are at-will states, which mean they don't have to have justification as to why they no longer need your service or for you to be employed with them. So keep that in mind. I want you to be thinking about that if you have not yet thought about that. What are you going to do? What moves are you going to make? What strategies are you going to put in place? The time is now. Is not to wait. The time is now for you to start making plans. As I started reading more about the layoffs, I looked at some of the other corporations and let me bring those up right quickly. And some of the companies like Microsoft, Google, eBay. eBay laid off hundreds of workers on its hardware, voice assistants, and engineering teams to cut costs. Microsoft announced 1,900 job cuts in the gaming division in January. That represents about 8% of its total gaming workforce. And then there was eBay. Even eBay laying off. They slashed 1,000 jobs, or 9% of its full-time workforce. So see the CEO of eBay, they were on the news and they were talking about we need to better organize our teams for speed, allowing us to be more nimble, bring like-minded together, and help us make decisions more quickly. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's about thinking fast on your feet. It's about being innovative. It's about being creative. You have to keep all of those things in the forefront of yourself and in mind as you are working within organizations. And what about if you're unemployed? You also have to take that into consideration. We'll be having another workshop later on, and that workshop will be covering what industries to look at, what type of jobs that AI cannot replace that you need to become aware of. But in the meantime, we need to have this emergency resume workshop that give you 20 tech tips and techniques that's going to help you get that resume up and ready or updated so that you can apply for jobs like right now, because tomorrow is not promised. Let's face it, sometimes there's a cutoff as to how many applications that they're going to accept for any given job. So don't think you have all the time in the world, because that's not happening any longer. We have individuals like companies like TikTok. They laid off 60 advertising and sales workers in January. And this was a part of their routine reorganization, according to the company. Notice the word routine. That means what? It happens over and over and over. So that's something that you have to take in mind when you are looking at a particular organization to become an employee of. Then there was Salesforce in San Francisco. This is a cloud-based computing company. It shedded 7,350 workers, or you can look at it as 10% of its workforce in January. Why did they do it? Well, they said that to come close to its offices to save on real estate costs. So every company can have a different reason for the layoff. But let's face it. If we're looking at our budget, we're going to look at where can we cut cost, and that's what these organizations are doing as well. Amazon, according to the recent report from the Business Insider, roughly 115 positions may be eliminated at one medical and Amazon pharmacy. Now, they're going to be looking at eliminating hundreds of positions across Prime Video, MGM Studios, Twitch, and Audible divisions, and this was all taking place in January. And here we are, the second week in February. As I indicated, it's not stopping, it's continuing. Then you got Snapchat. They plan to cut around 528 employees, or 10% of their global workforce. So don't play around. Ask yourself, what do you need to be doing in order to make these changes now so that you can be prepared and it does not affect your standard of living? I know SAP, which is a software company, it announced that they're going to be laying off over 8,000 employees, and they were to do that in January. It's a matter of trying to go back and trying to backtrack to see how many employees actually got laid off, but sometimes those numbers can be very difficult to find. So we can round it up or round it down. Even PayPal said they were going to be announcing a layoff, and they intended to cut 2,500 jobs, which equaled about 9% of their workforce. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, I know that some of you are probably terrified of the layoffs, AI, and the recession in 2024, but there is something that you can do, and that's prepare yourself for a layoff. You might not be involved in a layoff, but if you're prepared, then it's less stress on you. We talk about mental attitude and mental health. This will help to reduce stress on your part by being ready with your resume, with knowing what changes you have to make, and even looking at your own personal budget and making financial decisions based on that. Until we, as I say, until we, get through this crisis situation right now that's going on with this layoff. Can you stop it? Not when an organization know that they need to make changes. No, that's not something that we can stop. But what we can stop is the effect that it has on us as an individual. So now there will be jobs that AI cannot replace and that only you as a human can and do it. We're going to cover a lot of those jobs when we have our mastermind group that's called the Job Search Assignment Program. So we'll cover a lot of these open positions. We'll talk about how do you get your resume prepared for that. But in the meantime, we want to focus on this emergency resume and the 20 tips and techniques that you can do right now in order to beef up your resume so you can be found by companies who will be hiring and who are looking to bring on some of these displaced workers. Let that be you, because you're prepared and you know exactly what to do. Now, what I want you to think about is that when you're in a leadership role, you're going to have to look at your whole organization and make decisions on who's going to be affected. It could be a group of it could be an entire department, or it could be a group of individuals. There we go. It's back on. Well, you never know what the technology is going to do. So you just bear with me if I should go out. Just give me a minute or two. It should be coming back on. But leaders, what I want you to take into consideration is your workforce. How well do you know your workforce? How well do you know each individual? How well do you know their roles and responsibilities? And then have you taken into consideration holding those performance reviews with them so that they'll know exactly where they stand in their performance and there are no surprises? When it comes to leadership, I mean, in leadership, you have to do all this strategic thinking. You have to make these necessary decisions. You're the one that have to motivate. You're the ones that need to coach. It's so many different roles and hats that you're wearing as a leader. And so I want to encourage you to just take a step back, breathe, because we want you to be mentally prepared in the event that you have to make those decisions as to who and which employee will be affected or selected for a layoff. So I don't want you to think that we're not thinking of the leaders. And leaders, we have programs and tools and techniques to help you in order to make some of those decisions, because succession planning is so strong and needed. And then I also want to encourage what we call the creative professionals. You have a lot of creativity going on, and depending on what role and responsibility that you're playing in an organization. Or let me pause for a moment and talk about our small business owners and our consultants. Because when there are layoffs, that means that those particular companies no longer might, well, not necessarily no longer, but they would have to make a decision as to whether or not they need our services. They would have to make a decision as to whether or not they need our services. So as consultants, we have to make sure that we are ready and prepared as well, so that we can be there, be flexible, be available to the leaders, to the organizations, and to each other. We have to encourage and support one another as well. So I want you to make sure that you take all that into consideration, because when it comes to being creative and our creative individuals out here, we know that a lot of time we talk about left brain, right brain, and the right brain, left brain is for logical thinking, where the right brain is about creativity. And then some people classify themselves as their left brain, right brain. But what I want you to understand is that be prepared. Make a list of your strengths. Make a list of your abilities that you bring to the table. And then your creatives, we're talking about our musicians, our writers, we're talking about painters, we're talking about those who are creative in advertising, who rely heavily on, human creativity and emotions. So be prepared, make notes, have a portfolio available and ready to go as well. And what about problem solving? Employees, are you showing your managers that you're able to solve problems? This could be heavily looked upon, that they need someone who can, be what they call solve a problem right there on you, quickly on your feet, make decisions fast. And so that's something that employees, I want you to take that into consideration and analyze it for yourself. Know where you stand in that area, decision making, problem solving, teamwork, getting along with individuals, being flexible, being adaptable. All these things are critical when it comes to being laid off, or maybe they even take into consideration. How well do you fit into the culture? So these layoffs, and the companies are doing it. They have a big task on their hands. So what you want to do is help them to understand that you're valued and that they need you. You are valuable and that they need you. And we know healthcare workers are definitely in high demand. So I would say healthcare workers, still make sure that you keep your resume up to date, that you know where you're headed in that particular organization that you are working within. Don't take it for granted that I have a job and I'm not going to lose my job, because it can happen to any of us at any given time. The economy can turn, the industry can turn, supply and demand can turn. We don't know. We just have to be ready, and we have to be a strategy in place, knowing what direction we're headed, knowing what values we bring to the table, understanding how we can advocate for ourselves so that you can make clear decisions based on what your family need, you as an individual, and then what are you bringing to the organization that can justify them keeping you. My question is, would you hire you? Would you keep you if you had to make a decision as to who you were going to lay off? That's a powerful question to answer. So ask yourself that. Would I keep me? And then answer, what attributes are you bringing to the table as to the reason why you should be kept? Why you should be kept. I know this is some information, but I trust that you're writing it down. I trust that you're taking it into consideration. This brings me back to you preparing yourself to maintain employment, to maintain the lifestyle that you're accustomed to. I know at Levelist, we're all about empowering you to prepare. So when an opportunity presents itself, you're the one chosen for it. You are the one chosen for it. Preparation, preparation, preparation. I can't stress that enough. I know during my years of working within corporate America, I was always prepared. Even when I was told I was being laid off, I had prepared myself for that. Because what? I was in HR. I was laying other employees off. So who's to say that I couldn't be laid off? So you can't be naive, and you cannot overlook things. And many times you hear each other talking about, man, I just heard that there might be a layoff. I just heard this. I just heard that. It may happen. It might not happen. But at least you were made aware of it. But if you stay prepared and you stay ready, then there's no reason to get ready. And so what we do here at Levelist is that we focus on helping you to stay ready. So when an opportunity presents itself, you are the one chosen. If we break it down and we look at our emerging adults, those who are in high school, we're going to ensure that you understand and discover the passion and the purpose that you have, so that when you are selecting or choosing a profession or a career path, you choose one that closely is in alignment with your already given abilities and strengths. So you can determine if college is for you, entrepreneurship is for you, what direction do you need to take in the profession or the career path. Now, those who are already in college and you're completing your degrees, then we're here to help walk along the side of you so that now that you have the degree that you have applied for or you are working towards, how are you going to use it? What organizations is going to be the better fit for you? What's the best environment for you? See, just acquiring a degree does not mean that you're going to automatically get a job. Or if you're already working, acquiring a degree does not automatically mean that you're going to be promoted or that you're going to get a salary increase. But what's your strategy? What was your strategy when you decided to go for that additional education or to go for that certification? That's what we do here at Levelist. We help you create that strategy so that you know exactly how you're going to use it. And you know exactly the impact that you're going to make on that organization, or you're going to make within your life, your career path, your profession. What is your intent? What is the bigger picture? And then we have those who are aspiring to become leaders, but have not yet been promoted. But there's a process that you need to go through, not necessarily on the job itself, but maybe mentally there is a process that you need to go through. Yes, many times individuals are promoted who have technical skills, but they don't necessarily mean that they are able to do the leadership side of it. But if you prepare for it and understand how to be a leader, then you have that knowledge and those tools in your tool belt that you can extract and use when needed. And so we help you to understand, how do you get promoted into that leadership position? What level of leadership are you interested in? Because you got from it, what we call emerging leaders, you have actual first line leaders, and then you have all the way up to a president role. So what are you aspiring to do and become and be? So we help you to put a strategy in place for that. All right, so you're already a C-suite. You're already an executive leader, but there's always room for improvement. And you could have a blind side that you're unaware of. And so we do help you with that blind side, assess you, give you the feedback that's needed, and then let's put a strategy in place on how you are going to improve or move forward or implement that blind side and change things about the way you think and do, and build your team and build that cohesive team, that high performing team. So see, a level is, it could be a one-stop shop, but it's not a one size that fits all, because we're all individuals and we require different things in order to get us where we want to go and in order to help us to move forward. So the sky is not the limit. So I tell everyone, stop limiting yourself. Be level less. Success without levels. All you do is define what success looks like for you, put a strategy in place, and you execute and deliver with excellence. You will find out that you are continuously succeeding above and beyond what you ever thought you could do. Your potential are just exploding, and you're living the life that you desire. And I always have to add, you also want the salary that you desire as well, because you are in alignment with what your God-given abilities and your strengths are. And you happen to love what you do and doing what you love. Let's see if we have any questions. Let me take a look to see if we have any questions. What I want to do is I want to make sure that the producer put the link at the bottom and is running across right now, so that you're able to register for the emergency resume. So we can get those 20 tips. We're only talking about an hour of your time. And you'll see that it's coming up, and you don't have much time, but go on and register. And the whole thing of it is, it's something that you can do immediately. And it's online, it's virtual. And here it is, the emergency resume workshop. Very minimum cost for your time, but a major impact when it comes to applying and submitting your resume. And I know with these jobs being laying off the way that they're laying off, this is something that's needed. I've had several people to call and ask me, are you doing a resume workshop? Are you doing a resume workshop? Well, what we want to do is give you these 20 tips right now to get you started. And then we're going to announce the resume workshop that's coming up. That's a 2-hour workshop that will help you. And you bring that resume, we get it going, and you leave with a completed resume. So the objective is for you to be able to submit your resume for a job opening immediately. Not keep waiting and waiting and waiting, because we don't have that kind of time on our hands. When companies are laying off and other companies are hiring, you're in competition with the other ones who've been laid off. So what are you going to do differently that's going to show them that you're the best candidate for the position? And these 20 tips in this 1 hour is going to help you make a difference and update your resume ASAP until you're able to attend the actual resume workshop that'll be coming up in March. But what we're going to be, in April, but what we're going to do is have a emergency workshop that's coming up in March. So go ahead, use the barcode, the QR code, and go out there and register. It'll only take you a few minutes to register. And the minimum cost is really your time, but you'll see the major impact that it's going to have. I will tell you that when I help individuals do their resumes, they've been in the top 3 of the positions. I can't promise anything like that now, because what? There are too many variables. There are too many variables. And I'm not in that decision-making mode to say you get the position. But what I am in is to empower you so that you can present yourself and you can brand yourself on your resume. It's important that you have a personal brand even on your resume. So come to that tip and technique, the emergency resume workshop, 1 hour of your time, and get that resume started. And who's to say that you won't even be able to submit that resume right away? And then come to the full-blown resume workshop later in April. But let's get you started in March. Let's not wait. Let's see if we have any questions. Mark, do we have any questions? Anybody chiming in with questions? Let's see. All right. Okay, so one person said, so how long is the emergency resume workshop? It's only 1 hour. And we're only going to have the few seats open, because the whole objective is I want it to be intimate, and I want you to be able to walk away. I want you to be able to ask questions, and I want to be able to make a difference when you are looking at what changes you need to make for your resume in order for it to be found, for it to stand out. So the hiring manager can read it, and human resources can like it, and then pull it for the hiring manager to look at it. But you've got to have these quick tips and techniques to get started, because some of you may not have already done a resume in years. And if you've not done a resume in years, so now's the time to brush that old resume off the shelf, bring it out, and then let's start working on it. Let's start updating it so you'll be ready. If you stay ready, there's no reason to get ready. And as you can see, the link is at the bottom of the screen that's running. Go on and register and tell someone else about it. Tell someone else about it. You know individuals out here who will be affected. You already know. And if you've been given word, or if you've heard a possibility, don't wait around until it happens. Do not wait until it happens. Get on top of it. Be proactive opposed to being reactive. Many times we are reactive with too many things that we can actually be proactive. So don't procrastinate on this. Now is the time to update your resume and keep it updated. Keep it updated. The tips and techniques that I'm going to be sharing with you is to help you to keep that resume, get it updated, and then keep it updated. It's always about maintenance. It's always about maintenance. So don't overlook it. Let me see if I have any other questions out here. Okay. All right. It said, where will it be held? It's going to be held online. It's going to be virtual. It's going to be through Zoom. And so once you once you use the QR code, it takes you to where you'll be able to pay. Then after you pay, it's going to give you the link, and where you can then register for the workshop on Zoom, and then you're good to go. Um, what is the number one mistake that folks make on their resume in their resume writing? The number one thing that's omitted is the information that's presented about what you've done is presented as far as a role and responsibility and not an achievement. It's critical, it's essential that you present yourself as achievements that you've done so that you can show the income, the company that you're trying to become an employee of, the values that you bring into their organization. So that's the number one thing that I have seen on resumes. And when I do resumes, and that's the number one thing that gets them in the door to interview. Because your resume is just a written documentation to say, do I want to call this person and interview with them? And see, in the interviewing, according to Maxine, that's it. That's the way we do the workshop. Interviewing according to Maxine, we interview and we're going to prepare you for the interview that you've been chosen to come in and interview for. So you have to go through the real deal, the real deal. So you'll be interviewing with HR personnel when you go through that. So it's essential that your resume represent who you are, it brands you, and you're able to interview from it. All right. Let's see if we have any other questions. Come on now, y'all write y'all's questions down, send them in. You get a chance to talk to the HR guru. Should all resumes be one page? The answer is no. All resumes should not be one page. It is going to depend. And it depends on how much experience that you have. How many years of experience that you have will depend on how many pages that you need in a resume. If you have 20 and 30 years of experience, then we help you to understand how do you break that down in order for you still to have a 2-page to more than a 3-page resume. If you have a high school graduation and you have a job, then yes, 1 page should be sufficient. If you're coming out of college, but you've worked and you worked several places and you've done several projects, then a 2-page resume should be sufficient. And you only go back 10 years when you're talking about your resume. So see, you got some good tips and techniques already with these 20, the tips that I'm going to be giving you. You've already heard about 3 or 4 of them. But we have many more to be able to share with you so that you can present yourself in the best light, that you can be found, that you can stand out, you can be noticed, that you want organizations to say, I want to interview this person. And then when you interview, you want them to say, who is that? I want to hire that person. So that's what we do here at Levelist. We go from one step to the next step to the next step because the whole objective is to get you hired. But not just any job. We want to get you hired in a job that matches and is in alignment with your abilities and your strengths so that you have a love for what you do and you do what you love. You happen to get paid for it and you're doing an outstanding job. All right. Oh, wait. We have another question coming through. Okay, what is the difference between a resume and the Vita? The resume is a summary of that's going to represent the jobs that you've done in the last 10 years. The Vita is about your overall life, and it's not usually for a job itself. Usually it's if you're going for a professorship or something like that. It's for a higher level position, and that's when you would do the Vita. But yeah, that's the difference between the resume. And not everybody, many people would do a resume and it'd be a 2 or 3 page. And I know with the federal government or with the government jobs, they have no more than up to 5 pages of within a resume, and beyond that, they're not going to look at it. But if you're just doing a regular resume, 5 pages is very, very long. So we'll try to see if we can narrow it down to about between 3.5, depending on how many years of service that you have and what is it that you've done. So there's 3 different types of resume formats that we can use. So we cover that as well in the tips and techniques in that hour for that emergency resume workshop. All right. All right, let's see. I think we got it. I think those are some very good questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are so engaged. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes, it's so good to have you here. And when you start talking about resumes, I get serious. I smile because I want you to make sure that you are branding yourself. You're standing out. They know the value that you're bringing to the organization. They can see you, feel you, and know exactly a little bit about you yourself in the way in which you present yourself on that resume. And so we have a format that we use when you are talking about yourself and branding yourself on a resume that we'll go over when we actually do the resume workshop. But yeah, so those are some of the things that we do. Yeah, I know I can get a little serious when it comes to resume because the whole objective is to get you hired. And with the companies doing the layoffs the way they're doing the layoffs, listen, they're not playing around. They are not playing around. And so you do not need to be waiting. It's important that you start preparing for getting that resume together. Take your time, write it, rewrite it, have it looked at, do the grammar check, do the spell check. Does it reflect the accomplishments that you say you've done? Are there results on it? What does it say that you've done and how you've done it? Who have you done it with? So all of that has to be taken into consideration when you're doing a resume. And remember, then you take that resume information and you put it on your LinkedIn profile. So we even help you with the LinkedIn profile. So make sure that you're looking good out there on LinkedIn as well, because that is your business resume to the general public. And recruiters and hiring managers are always looking at LinkedIn. So don't underestimate what's out there on LinkedIn about yourself. So we'll talk about LinkedIn at another time and how you can, use LinkedIn to your advantage when it comes to your resume and how you go about strengthening your LinkedIn profile. But that's for another workshop. Let's see what else. One of the things that I want to bring to your attention is when you're doing a resume, if you have a resume, go on and start marking it up. Print it out, mark it up, make your changes. If there is some information that you missed about yourself, it gives you time to think about it. Whatever happened this past year and your performance, maybe that's something that you want to make sure you highlight on your resume. So don't underestimate about a lot of the achievements that you've done, and does it match up with the job opening that you're looking for. So we'll cover a lot of that in the workshop. It won't necessarily be covered all in the 20 tips, but it will be covered in the actual workshop to make sure that you leave with a completed resume that you can then submit with a job opening. So there's a lot of great information. I love helping people with the resumes, and I love being able to see you blossom and brand yourself, and that becomes who you are to the general public. This is what you do. This is who you are, and this is what you know. And these are the values and the achievements that you've made for those particular organizations that you already have worked within. And then entrepreneurs, it's important that you also do your resumes, because if the companies are laying off, then you just never know if they would turn around and hire consultants. Maybe they might not need, maybe they haven't used consultants at all, but maybe they'll start using consultants. So therefore you need to have your business resume ready as well. So those are just some the other things to take into consideration. All right, let's see. I truly have enjoyed having you all with me this evening to talk about the resumes, talking about the layoffs. I don't know, nobody wants to get caught in a layoff, but if we prepare ourselves, then it's less stress on us if we do that, opposed to be blindsided and not have anything in place. So go on and register for the emergency resume workshop that's coming up. Go on and do that, and that way you have access to the 20 tips that we're going to be talking about, and then we can take it from there. I'm here. We're here to help you to make sure that you're prepared and always ready. Should an opportunity present itself, you are the one that they've chosen to fill it. So this is Maxine Pearl Phillips, your host of the Life Strategy Show. I believe in you. I trust you believe in yourself. I look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place. Take care. Have a great evening.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance.